We are live. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 117 of the Self-Publishing Roundtable, the podcast for indie authors by indie authors, where we discuss today's topics and issues that matter to the business of the self-published author. I am your moderator, Wade Finnegan, and my co-panelists for this evening are Xavier Granville.
Hello, internets.
Liam Kingman, which I'm not sure if he'll be able to say hi or not. Believe me, he's there, though. And stepping in for Michelle Reed while she's on hiatus, and we're very, 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 very happy to have her, Erica Conroy.
Obey Cthulhu.
Oh.
Be the Dark Lord.
Our special panelist for this evening is John Monk. John is returning to us, a show that I wasn't on before, so maybe that's why he came back. But John is a well-known author around our circles, has done some really great things. He's got the Jenkins Cycle Series, and actually I just saw on it on Facebook the other day, had a book bub go, and he just got a lot of good insight. So John, thank you so much for coming back on. We appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. It looks like we got lots of live listeners again tonight, which is great. You guys are awesome. Please feel free to throw in some questions. Of course, we always look at your comments, but make sure you put John in the hot seat a little bit. You know, it's always good for him. And when we're all done for this evening, you need to go to iTunes, leave us a review, spread the love, and share Spurt all over, as Erica would say.
No, I wouldn't.
Oh, okay. All right. So I guess, because in typical fashion, I usually start off the question, but I will let you know that Xavier and Erica are going to talk more tonight because they're more professional than I am. But John, I want to talk to you a little bit off the get-go about some different platforms besides Amazon. We have noticed here at the Roundtable that you've had some success on other platforms, maybe more than the average author that we talk to, and just what sort of things do you do, or do you think that leads to that success?
I guess self-destructive tendencies.
Yes.
It's really tough watching all of the authors out there killing it in KDP and knowing that I never really killed it in KDP. And I would always go back hoping things would change, and they didn't. So now I'm definitely wide. I'm not selling anything on Kobo yet. Barnes & Noble today, some information came back. I'll get into that. That says I hopefully will be selling some over there. But Apple, I did really well. I did well over the summer. I picked up an Apple rep. I talked about that last time around. Having an Apple rep is sort of like having a fairy godmother or godfather. You know, they basically put you up there right on the front page as soon as you open up, your iBooks app. At least in my case, it was right there. As soon as it opened up, my book was there, and I was selling. So you would think that with a rep, like on Amazon, that you would wake up in the morning and have 300 sales, but with Apple, they don't. You know, they're not quite as big as Amazon in that respect. So I was selling between 30 and 55 books a day, which was, full price books, $5 a book.
Yeah,
in my mind,
sneeze at.
yeah, in my mind, it was killing it, and I was doing this for weeks. It was really sticky, Every week on the Tuesday, you'd come back, and you would see your little book picture get bumped just to the right. And like one or two books would pop up in front, and you would get bumped to the right, and you would eventually you'd have to use the scroll bar to kind of look where you're at on the right, and every time you got bumped to the right, your royalties would start going down. Excuse me. I had multiple books up though on Apple. I had my Jenkins Cycle books, and they weren't selling as well because they weren't on the front page. To get on the front page, it's kind of weird, but you got to be in mystery and thrillers. So I had my Thief book. That was the one that was selling like crazy over on Apple. And the Jenkins Cycle books, I think, were selling like 10 to 15 a day. And that was really cool. right now, over on Apple or iBooks UK, I've given away almost 500 books because of the book club that I took for $35. So that's the other thing is, if being wide, when you do a book club, you're going to get traction in these other platforms. There's an author that I'm friends with named P.T. Hilton. He's also wide, hates KU, and so he took the plunge and he got a book club, and he's had regular, steady sales on Barnes & Noble because of it. When I had my book club last year in the U.S., I wasn't wide. I was using the 5 days free KU or KDP Select opportunity, and so the only traction I got was on Amazon, and I kick myself to this day for that. I should have gone perma-free then while it was still a little bit more viable, and then attracted them to that, because I had a lot of good reviews. At the time, my cover seemed pretty cool, cool enough. Everything was cool enough that they accepted me for a free book club back then. So if I had been wide, I would have been enjoying PT's success over on Barnes & Noble. And if he had been on Apple at the time and not just Barnes & Noble, he would have been getting a lot of success there too.
So are you saying that if you could go back in time, you just would have went wide from the get-go, or would you still try to get a little bit going on Amazon first and then go wide?
I might have tried to get a little bit going on Amazon first. It's really convenient to have the 5 KDP Select free days where you can just go boom and then they hit and then they're over, or the countdown deals where you get that cool 70%. But I wouldn't have stuck with them. I would have just stayed wide from the beginning and gone perma-free, with the book 1. Actually, I would have written more books. I know everybody's probably sick to death of hearing write more books and get a stupid good cover, but the truth is that writing more books that's what I'm suffering from right now. Is I just don't have enough books. So I'm trying that. I'm working on I'm working on more books. But when I did my book club, I only had 1 sequel. Book 2, and a lot of people bought it. So I gave away 24,000 books in that book club last November, and I think I sold like 500 to the second book, which gave me something like maybe $2,000 or whatever that number came up to be. If I'd had a third one, I would have had my 70% buy through to the second or to the third one, and maybe Amazon would have said, hey, maybe there's something going on with this John L. Monk guy. Let's give him some more love. I won't know that. Speaking of more love, so well,
we love love.
Okay, I don't want to forget this. This is why I'm filibustering, guys. So when I have a super secret Facebook group that I always post stuff to and talk about Xavier and things like that, so you can't see it. And I told those
there.
We all do actually, right, Erica? There we go.
Yeah. I'm new.
So I was telling those guys, hey, I applied for BookBub, and they said, no, you're not good enough for, the United States. All you get is like Zimbabwe and the UK. Yeah. So I'm kidding. They only said that you can basically just do UK. You can't have USA. So I thought about it. It was $35, and I said, really, the UK? Did they even have a mailing list there? Much to speak of. So I accepted it because I didn't want to, you do not offend BookBub, right? But I told the super secret group, I said, hey guys, this is what happened, and they said, oh, I had that happen, and I denied them. I didn't take it, And I will just say, on top of giving away 2,700 books now over in the UK, which just seems like a lot more than I thought it was going to be, and on top of being, for the first time ever, number 3 in on Amazon, on some sort of Amazon overall in the entire Kindle store, free, and number 1 in fantasy and science fiction, for 2 days. I mean, I can't imagine that for a second I was thinking, don't accept it. So if BookBub says, take it, you take it. And here's the best part. On top of these sales, free sales, I got a note from Dan Wood over at Drafted Digital saying that Barnes & Noble just contacted me and said that they're going to put you on Friday Nook free, promotion tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. So,
The Nook Free Friday.
Yeah, and so what that means, I guess, I don't know how much it's going to give away, but this is my opportunity to actually move some books over on Barnes & Noble, and it would have never happened if I was hiding in KDB Select. It would never happened if I got all proud and said I don't want Zimbabwe in the UK. So don't be proud,
Yeah, that's awesome, John. I mean, I would be freaking taking screenshot after screenshot. Number 3.
Is that annoying? Because I do that. I take some screenshots and I post them. Do you guys look at them and go,
I liked your screenshot today. I saw that on there. I'm like, holy shit. Number 3. Yeah, I wouldn't feel bad about that at all, John. Not at all.
All right. I don't want to be that guy,
Oh, Liam, we miss you so much. Every time you're on there, you fall off the screen.
Alas, poor Liam.
Can I say one more thing about? I got to tell you how.
John, you're the guest. You can say anything you want.
Okay. Woohoo! No, I want to say okay, people are like, okay, it's really good that you have these Apple reps and everything, but this is useless to me because I don't know how to get an Apple rep. All right, so there's a couple ways that you can get an Apple rep. The first way, I don't know of anybody who's succeeded in this. Okay, I've only recommended it to a few. I don't think I've said it on a national broadcast platform.
National.
No, actually, this would be
Global.
Global, yeah.
Universal.
One thing you can do is you can go to Apple Connect. It's called iTunes Connect. Create an account there. You don't have to have a Mac to do it, I think. You just use a web browser. Create an account, and then go, and you can use Draft. Here's the thing. You can get an Apple rep even through Draft to Digital. I know a guy who did it, and in fact, when I was talking to the merchandiser, she was like, hey, do you use Draft to Digital or something, or do you go directly? Just let me know because it's cool, right? So you don't have to worry about that. You can still get one. It's not like a big hurdle. But you go to iTunes Connect, and you go to their little help system. It's down at the bottom. And somewhere in there, just click around. It doesn't take long. You'll find ask us, how do I get a rep? How do I get a merchandising rep? It'll be one of the drop downs. And it's going to ask you things like, well, why do we think you should have a rep? And what do you think? What are you going to do if you get a rep? Are you just going to do nothing? What's your marketing plan? What are the things that why are you so cool? So you're going to fill all that stuff out and hit submit, and you're going to cross your fingers. So that's the first way. I don't know how you do that on Amazon, but at least Apple's giving you that opportunity. And then there's the Chris Fox method. Do you guys know the Chris Fox method?
Yeah.
You do?
Let's tell our listeners, and actually Chris Fox.
Okay.
So anyway, but yes, John, tell us the Chris Fox method.
Chris Fox method is you go on the Rocking Self-Publishing podcast, and you're really charming and witty and intelligent and cool, and they just contact you and say, we thought you were witty, charming, intelligent, and cool, and you can, and we're going to be your Apple rep.
Oh.
So, yeah.
So you're saying Xavier doesn't have a chance, but hey, that's okay.
He's intelligent.
Just a sick burn, I guess.
He's intelligent. Come on.
Oh, okay.
Count 'em 1.
So that's the Chris Fox method. And by the way, if you would like to pursue the Chris Fox method kind of thing, if you want to be on some podcasts, if you're out there in the listening audience, I would love to watch and listen to podcasts with you. I absolutely love the self-publishing culture. I embraced podcasts sometime in 2014. I'm a podcast junkie now. I listen to them all the time. But there's a great podcast called The Author Biz with Stephen Campbell, right? He's had on big names like Russell Blake and Chris and Catherine Rush and her husband and Mark Dawson and everybody. And he just had a podcast. It's his latest podcast talking about how to go on podcasts and how to behave yourself, right? That's why I seem so smooth and debonair right now, is because I listened to. He showed me how to walk and to talk. Okay. So.
Well, we don't really prescribe to that here at the Roundtable. It's kind of more crass, but anyway.
I'm only kidding, but basically it's a really cool show and you should check it out.
After you watch the Roundtable, of course.
Right.
Xavier, you got a question?
My brain's still scrambling from me not being intelligent or charming or witty.
I know. I said you were intelligent.
I'm not. I know you came back with a compliment, but Wade did not.
Well, Xavier, I'm just covering up for my own flaws. We all know that you're the best guy on here, right, Liam? No, anyway, but yeah.
Hey. Oh, we got a word from Liam. He speaketh.
All right. I'm sorry. I'll be more serious. Question.
Yeah. So John, as far as the Jenkins Cycle's concerned, you recently are going to be you're doing the binge edition, a bundle between the 3 books, and I saw that at least you're kind of planning on doing some sort of promotion. What do you have planned for as far as that's concerned?
Well, I do intend to hit up BookBub and see if I can't, because the binge edition is wide. Here's the other cool thing about going wide. If you go wide, you can get on the USA Today bestseller list. You have to sell 500 books for money on, I think, 3 platforms. So that would be Apple, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon, right? And you can't do that if you're in KDP Select. So it is my hope to do a 99-cent deal, through BookBub, pay like $500 or whatever that is for whatever, and get that binge edition on the USA Today bestseller list. I don't know what happens when I get on the USA Today bestseller list. I just want to get on.
Probably good things.
Yeah.
I would think, yeah.
Also, you always want to be doing something. It's actually, we all hate the idea that just do something, because it's like, no, you got to have a reason to do something. But if I hadn't spent the $35, I wouldn't be on the free thing tomorrow, despite me thinking at the time it's not really going to do anything. Why am I doing this? So if my books are just sitting there not being read, I should get them in front of readers. So spend, giving, $10, or actually I guess it's, worth the material away for 99 cents and getting 35 cents on it. If they're not reading it anyway, why not? I want readers. I'm not trying to pay the mortgage right now, although I have been paying the mortgage this year, which is really cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's my goal. Actually, right now I want to make enough right now to pay off my computer. That's not even the mortgage.
Yeah, computer. That's a good goal. Jane Fury had asked Robert what the name of that podcast was. What the Author Biz podcast was it?
I think it's theauthorbiz.biz or theauthorbiz.com, and biz is B-I-Z. Yeah, it's with Stephen Campbell. He's a great interviewer. He's also got a podcast called Crime Fiction FM, and it's on Crime Fiction FM. It was like the 4th or the 6th or something episode. They're these little 15, 20-minute episodes, these little podcasts that talk about, this guy loves crime fiction. I was on that episode talking about my Thief book. I don't know that I got any sales from it, but it was really fun talking to him. Here's the funny thing about Stephen Campbell. He reads every book that he talks to people about. He reads like 3 books a week. So he gets an author on there, and he's like, I love that part where the cat turned purple, or something like that, So, yeah, this is who does that in radio or podcasting? I don't know anybody who does it except for this guy. And he has a Casey Kasem kind of voice. It's kind of weird.
Oh, great.
Yeah. It's a real radio-sounding guy.
Liam, Erica, who wants to go with the next question?
I got nothing. Better go for Liam. Might be quiet, though.
Liam, I dare you to speak.
Type it in the chat. Gosh darn it.
I think an alien just kidnapped him or something.
Yeah.
He sounds like Joshua from War Games.
He does. He does.
Yeah, I think Stephen King has cursed the entire state of Maine with bad internet. Monk, you recently did you beta Brian Cohen's course for the copywriting that Brian was on last show for. What was your experience doing that, and what do you kind of think of this whole thing of self-publishing courses that are happening nowadays?
I think it's a travesty. No, I'm kidding.
especially Brian Cohen's.
Actually, let me just say something about Brian Cohen before I get into that. this guy, right? You hear him on the self-publishing roundtable, and he's like all nice and everything, and there's not a kooky idea about self-publishing that he won't be like, well, I can see some good sides to that. And then you got Jim Kukul over there going, it'll never work. Mahogany desks, it'll never work. I would just tell you, when you do a course with Brian Cohen, at least in my experience, he is like super forceful. He's like, no, John, that's just not going to work. You have to do it like this. Come on, let's move this along. He's like really forceful in a good way. He's like such a professional. He's like so in charge of his material. He's just, it's just kind of funny. That's just something I noticed. But I will say that his class, I did the beta with 3 other people, and the class was hard. Really hard. It was harder than I thought, and so I was like working kind of late at night on it because I had to write 7 emails, and he was like coming back and saying, "No, John, this sucks." He was nicer than that. He's like, I told you got to ask these questions at the end. You're not listening to me. I'm like, I'm sorry. Asking him questions just seems weird. So I asked him the questions. Okay, well, I love what you did here. I want more of that personality there. Let's tighten up, email 2 a little bit, and so we were going back quite, I guess what I'm saying is he really engages you. He isn't set it and forget it with his students. He's that teacher that you loved in high school in a way. The one that cared and actually got geometry into your head, or trig or whatever. So that's what I liked about it. Now, the class that you're going to take, if you take this class, when I say class, this course, it's different than what we had. We didn't have all these fancy hoodoo videos and stuff like that. We were just sitting there, Skyping it out as he worked on the course to kind of get it going. But it's essentially the same, except for it's like, instead of watching a video of a recording maybe and some instructional time, it was all just live with Brian, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. How about the Facebook stuff in that? How much of it have you implemented?
Right. Well, that's what I mean. When you do the 7-thing automation with your email, it's all tied into the Facebook stuff. So you make an ad. You use like the 3-sentence technique, where you write 3 sentences about your book and then distill it down to like 2 sentences, and then you pick the best one, and you make you kind of build something out of it with part of the third. I got it written down, and you make an ad, and then you put it out there, and it goes to a landing page. When people click on it, it's like buy John's book now, and whatever it is on the ad copy, and then you go to the landing page and it says all the stuff about the book, and click here, and then that sets you through the automation process. So that it is all the Facebook stuff basically. It's to get people on your subscriber list. Now, earlier I was saying I got to write more books. But yeah, I got to write more books because if you're getting all these subscribers, they got to have books to read. I got to be able to write them back and say, hey, I got a new book out, and I can't do that if I don't have a book. So it probably sounds kind of obvious, but
you can't.
Yeah, you can't email them if you don't have a new book.
I've been doing it all wrong.
Well, you can. To listen to Jim Kukul, you should be hitting up your guys like once a week or every 2 weeks or something like that. I'd like to hit them up when I've got new books. Although there is one of the emails. It's a 7-email automation. You're hitting them up like a week later, 3 weeks later, 5 weeks later, and then maybe 6 months later, say, hey, just checking, in with you, seeing how you're doing, and things like that. So, the instinct to only hit them up when you have a new book is kind of an incorrect instinct, because they signed up with you and they want to hear from you in theory, and if they don't, they'll get off your list. That's the other thing I learned writing these emails with Brian, is that you got to be interesting and smart and funny and intelligent and all that kind of stuff. So I have in there, like, if you like the book, please dedicate like a small shrine in your house, with an effigy of me. And I say, no, seriously, guys, just kidding. It doesn't have to be small.
Yeah.
Oh, that wit.
It could be as big as you want it to be. It could be the entire kitchen.
I don't hope I didn't confuse it or whatever. It really is the Facebook stuff. It's the Mark Dawson method. It's just told by Brian Cohen in his own course. I have a friend who did the Dawson course, and I'll tell you right now, he's doing gangbusters with his ads. Yeah.
I can't afford that course because, exchange rate.
Yeah.
Oh.
Expensive.
Okay.
It's like $600, isn't it?
Oh, a bit more than that when
A
you're
bit more than
here.
where you're at, right? Yeah. So, yeah, that is one thing too. You got, especially when you're starting out, you got to pick and choose. Got to be wise with your cash flow because there's not a whole lot of
I
it.
started with the free one, and that's been really a really good introduction, I think. I've been. Well, you've seen some of my ads.
I have.
So,
Yes. Mhm.
I'm surprised what I can get away with on Facebook. Implying
Oh.
Star Trek and Firefly has a one-night stand? Yes, that's acceptable. You can have that on Facebook. Okay.
Well, I think it's all in the wording. You're not just saying just like this is what happens when two shows fuck.
All right.
That's what I'm implying happens, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm not actually saying that.
exactly. I'm pretty sure there's some subtlety involved, and in which case I think the Facebook algorithm bots, much like the Amazon algorithm bots, aren't going to be picking up and flagging it for inappropriate material.
so as long as there's no nipples in your images, I think.
Oh,
it's
Lord.
really fine.
Lord forbid a nipple.
Yeah, especially man nipples.
Don't even think about them.
So,
Shouldn't even
John,
exist.
I'll try to get this back on track a little bit. So, you've talked like 2 or 3 times now about I should write more books. Is there anything you've been doing with your process to make it go faster? And we talk a lot about speed on here. Is there?
I'm the kind of guy that believes anything that you tell him sometimes. Rather, I like, oh, that sounds like a brilliant idea. I'll do that. And then I start doing that, and somebody else will say, oh, that's a brilliant idea. And I go, okay, well, I'll do that. So I read like Writing Into the Dark, and I had always been sort of a pantser. I'm like, oh, my God, it's validating everything I believe, so I'll do that. And when I do that, I write really slowly. I know that a lot of authors say, outline and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to outline. That's too, that's too stifling. So this time around, I'm trying to outline because I want to write more books, and it's a constant war with me and my ego and my own sense that like I know better and stuff, and so yeah, that's what I'm doing to write more books because I'm writing an outline. I have a really cool book idea. I'm working on chapter 1 now. I've got the outline like pretty deep. I know where it's going, but I'm going to outline really deeply. I'm like 5 chapters into the outline, so. I'm not going to talk about the book because everybody will steal my idea and make millions. I'm just kidding. It's a post-apocalyptic story. Yeah.
I know I will.
And he'll add dinosaurs.
Yes, I will.
That'll make it different.
Yes,
It's a
exactly.
typical post-apocalyptic story with diseases and stuff like that and guns, but no zombies. I love the zombie idea, maybe, but not so much with zombies. I don't know about you guys. I want to see aliens,
Yeah, no, that's true. Like, and I think like the post-apocalyptic story can always be taken in many different directions because ultimately it is, I guess, it's a human story. It's survival and overcoming adversity and a lot of times overcoming a lot of really heavy emotional problems that come along with whatever the hell is happening in the world. So whatever that is, you got to just reflect it through the eyes of those characters.
And the other thing I like about post-apoc is, it seems like it might be a little bit easy to write in that world because you basically reduce the world to kind of like a smaller box. Okay, you just killed off everybody, so you don't have to write those characters, right? You don't have to write about Palestinian-Israeli relations because there are no Palestinians or Israelis. There's your little town with some zombies in it, and some people, and it's like this little crucible that you can kind of write in. So I'm looking forward to that because I've been writing like the bigger stuff, a little bit.
Well, and it's also like the little things that with world building that can break your world, like something like an economy or something like that. Little things, if you have large magic systems in your world and all your somehow your finances and the trading is linked in with the magic system of this world. There might be a little thing that you didn't think about that could totally just break the entire system, and just like, oh well, that would make the entire economy collapse if this were to happen. And it takes a beta reader to point that out to you. But like you said, if you do pull a Stephen King and The Stand, where it's just like all electricity, it's gone, all communication, it's gone, all transportation, it's gone, that really just puts things down on a level field where now it's just the character and what is directly in front of him.
Yeah. Speaking of Stephen King, I got to finish The Stand. I started reading it when I was too young, I think, and I couldn't appreciate it. I also think I read his super extended version, and maybe it was just too much for me.
Yeah, I read the paperback one when I was in high school, and then someone pointed out that there was the unabridged version, and I said, "Oh God, no!"
Real quick before I forget, you guys you love Zach Bohannon and Jay Thorne. They've been on the show a bunch of times. Mm-hmm. They got a podcast called the Horror Writers Podcast.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, they talked about something very special happened to me this year, and I know it's going to sound weird, but I watched the episode where they talked about the Stephen King books that they loved, and they mentioned a book called The Long Walk. Okay, yep. Now I've read maybe 3 Stephen King books. I read Misery, loved it. I read Pet Sematary, thought it was okay, and I read The Dead Zone and loved it. And I picked up The Long Walk, and it's now basically in the top 5 favorite books that I've ever read, and I recommend that to everybody out there. I've been telling everybody about it. I don't know why it's not a movie right now. It's about these kids, and it's in the future. Actually, I think it's kind of these kids in a sort of a strange sort of what if we had lost the war kind of thing in the 50s or 60s or something. They never really talk about it, but every year these kids get together and these soldiers are behind them with guns. It's 100 kids, and they got to walk, and they got to walk, and they got to walk, and they just walk. And anybody who slows down below a certain speed or breaks one of the other rules, which fighting or something like that, or running away, they get shot. And it's just terrible, but it's fiction, guys. So, and they keep walking, and one person after another kind of falls off. That's the story. I'm not going to spoil it, but the point is it was very Cormac McCarthy, who's also one of my big influences, and without it's like Cormac McCarthy with punctuation marks. It was really cool.
Awesome.
Just a little aside there, Zach Bohannon and all those guys.
Well, yeah, I always love a good shot at Zach and Jay Thorne. They're great dudes. So let's talk a little bit about genre. What do you think? Well, obviously you jump genres a little bit in your writing. Have you thought about doing pen names and separating those things out, or do you prescribe to the idea of I'm going to write whatever I feel like writing and move around?
Well, pen name would be really important if I went to write romance or erotica or even children's stories, because you wouldn't want to write for kids and then say, oh, there's a John L. Monk book about the little bunny, and what's this thing called Kick, So, but when it comes to thrillers, science fiction, horror, and fantasy, I'm going to just stick with John L. Monk, because then I can leverage my various lists. I might not get much read-through, but if my readers really do like my work and my writing, there'll be folks who kind of go across. And I will pull a little kind of thing from Dean Wesley Smith and Kristen Catherine Rush when they talk about discoverability and points of discovery. They write a lot of short stories. They have all these short stories out there in books. Every time you put something up on Amazon, it doesn't matter what genre it's in, it's a point of discovery. Somebody might be looking for roses, and even though they're looking for roses for Mother's Day, it doesn't mean they're sweet little old ladies. They might like zombie stuff, and they see zombies and roses, and they go, well, I'm looking for roses stuff, but I'm going to click on zombies and roses, and I'll get that. So there's people are very multifaceted and different. So if you limit yourself to just one name for most things, I mean, if you split yourself up, you're not going to have that discovery that will take them through all your different works. It's not the same as like in the old days when you had to go to a bookstore. You wouldn't want to see like, Stephen King writing. Well, Stephen King's a strange example. He can write whatever he wants, but you didn't want to confuse people at the bookstore. And
yeah, John Grisham,
publishers,
Childs.
But he
and
did
publishers,
try writing under pen name Stephen King even.
yeah, the Bachman books, right? Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say, but
Sorry.
publishers didn't want you to like write like 50 books a year, But if you write 50 books a year as a self-publisher, I mean that's a lot of points of discovery, You want people to come to you, so and they want to see your list. It's all about read-through,
That's true.
I only have 4 books, so this is me talking out my ass a little bit here. So.
Well, you could have you already have that pen name and you're not sharing it, and it's got 12 books in it, and they're all about porn zombies or something. They exist. Shush.
Well, the other thing I
really?
think is a good way to get discovered is this collaboration with other authors. I'm collaborating with somebody now. It's one of my little projects on a serial. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. I mean, we're sort of in the beginning stages. But believe it or not, she's a big romance author. I'm not going to say her name because I don't know if she wants me to. But she was recently number 13 on Amazon's total, site list. She buys houses with her money. But she's a romance author and she wants to write sci-fi. And she's going to market the crap out of her books to her romance readers. And maybe 10% of them will come over. But that's 10%. It's a good start, right?
Yeah, especially if you've already got a big list. Like you say, dividing up that list might not be the best. Yeah.
Well, and if you are successful in romance, then you'll probably have a bigger list than more other genres such as sci-fi or fantasy or yeah.
Also, just once again, I've only written 4 books. They don't do amazingly well. Sometimes they do amazingly well. Under certain circumstances, like with the Apple Rep or with a BookBub, or I seem to get a lot of reviews, and they seem to be mostly positive. But when you want to talk about genre jumping, I encourage everybody to read I think it's The Author Myths by Russell Blake. He has very compelling reasons why you want to use pen names. And there you go. So don't just listen to me. Listen to guys who saw a lot of, and saw a lot more than I do. If Christine Catherine Rush, by the way, she's like the opposite of Russell Blake. She's like, I'm going to use one pen name for everything. Screw you. But she used to use pen names back when you had to, or you couldn't publish your 50 books a year. So right now she's a little bit more kind of in line with me, or I'm in line with her, or something like that on this.
Yeah, and we've talked about it quite a bit on the show too. And the more I go through it, the more I think now it's just when pen names make sense, isn't necessarily because of genre hopping. It's because for whatever reason, you don't want your name tied with that, and you have, and there is legitimate reasons for that, like day jobs and such. But in the case like you were saying, John, like if it's you got erotic in a children's book, you don't want those showing up side by side on something, right?
Or your real name's as popular as mine is.
Yeah, or another author already has your real name, right? That's happened. That's it's like, okay, I'm another, and somebody else, you don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say it, or maybe if you had like a really weird name, but then I was gonna say I guess it worked for Engelbert Humperdinck.
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking Engelbert Humperdinck.
Yeah.
That was so weird. You remember it. That's why. So hard to forget that one.
well, and it was totally cemented in my psyche thanks to the Princess Bride.
Yeah. So you gotta get that going for it too. That's right. I would say I'd ask Liam for a question, but I know that's probably not going to happen. So how about you, Xavier or Erica, for the next question? Who wants to jump in? I know you guys are prepared. Come on.
Kidding me? I just came from my office. I'm not prepared.
John, you were talking when we were discussing about what you wanted to talk about before the show. You were talking about fiction versus nonfiction. I know that neither Wade or Erica and I have anything out in nonfiction, but what are your thoughts as far as approaching that? Because I know that it's a very different very different way to approach marketing, selling, and writing as far as putting out a book that's nonfiction as opposed to fiction. What do you think?
Well, the truth is I've never written a nonfiction book. I'm actually writing one with the wife. We're collaborating. A lot of screaming going on. But, we're writing a low-carb book, low carbohydrates book, because she lost 140 pounds and I lost like 60. It's something she's really good at. She knows, she goes to conferences and she talks to people and listens to podcasts and she reads all the books and she makes menus that like 400 people download a day for free and circulate all over Pinterest and everything. Her menus, her weekly menus. So we're like, we should totally like write a book together. I have some experience writing books I've written for, and you have experience writing blogs. So we're sitting down there. We wrote 2,500 words this weekend. We're going to be writing some more this weekend. We're going to try to work, in the evenings and stuff, and get out like a book that's like maybe 100 pages or something like that, and also a menus book since they're so popular. We think it's, we think that's going to do pretty well. And we think that marketing will be, I don't know, we'll approach some podcasts like the Low Carb Living type podcasts, like Living La Vida Low Carb. That's a big one. I know. I just love that name. I want to get it out there.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So that's the way we'd probably market it. And I think that there's a kind of a BookBubby, free booksy type site out there called like Dollar Books or Buck Books or something like that. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, Buck Books, I think it is.
Okay, so they have a big following of readers who like health and weight loss style books. I heard them, I think it was on the self-publishing podcast, saying, like that's what they do, and they manage. They also do a lot of, they're doing other types, not just that, but they had like tremendous luck selling kind of weight loss books. And this isn't going to be some scammy weight loss book. This is like How She Lost It. I'm not a doctor. You should read these books by the smart guys, and this is how I did it, and here are my menus. So it's not like, hey, lose 10 pounds in 10 hours kind of stuff. It took her 3.5 years to lose, 140 pounds. So there you go, and keep it off.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congrats to both of you. That's really cool.
Thanks. I keep fluctuating. I go to work, and they bring in this food. They bring in food all the time. I got free food today. My contractor's company took me out, so.
Curse them.
You got to schmooze, right? That's what they got to do. They got to schmooze. I know one thing I wanted to mention before it gets too much later. You have this thing called the Awesome Indies Project. Is that right?
Yeah.
What is that? Tell our listeners.
Well, the Awesome Indie Project was, and it's something I need to kind of do more. I need to like force myself to do it the way, the Facebook founder guy said he's going to read like a book a week or something like that. I really need to do that. But it's me reading indie books. Like, this is going to sound terrible, but when I started the project, it was like, I don't read any indie books, but I'm an indie. So me reading indie books on purpose. It's like going out there, finding indies that nobody's heard of. Like John Elmock, or just looking through the stacks for those little guys out there with like 2 reviews by both grandmas, and reading their book, and they're the people who need the help the most, and finding this beautiful, like, oh my God, the prose is so wonderful, the editing is superb, and then putting them up on my site and saying, hey, I found this jewel, this needle in the haystack, and I'm telling you about it. So my Awesome Indie list is not for anybody who knows me ahead of time. It's not for, like I just find them and then I come back and I post about them. So there's no way to really, there's a caveat. There's no way to really petition me, but like one of the folks on there did say, hey, read my thing, and I was like, no, I can't really do that. And then I read it secretly, and I was like, oh, it's really good, and I put them up there. So, but that is
psych.
Right. But that isn't really a good strategy because, I just don't have the time. So that's the Awesome Indie Project, and there's like, I think 8 of them, and they're all really good. I will say that I tend towards more speculative fiction. I don't like romancy type stuff so much, but I really love The Girl in the Mountain, even though it's like a historical fiction with romance elements to it. And I was like, wow, that's really good. I'm getting all misty and stuff like that. So and she sells like gangbusters. But when I first kind of put her on the list, she was selling one book a month, and now she sells on good weeks 90 books a day. And that's Carol Irvin. But the speculative fiction stuff, I'm a real fan of Harvey Klick and Mark Capel and P.T. Hilton. His Regulation 19 series blew my mind, especially book 3, where P.T. sort of you turn like Jim Butcher on book 4. Book 1 through 3 or whatever is yeah, these are pretty cool. I like them. I'll get the next book. And then Jim Butcher around book 4 was he just flipped out, sold his soul to the devil, and started writing like a demon, And so that's what happened with PT. But the books 1 and 2 were still great,
Nice. Jane Fury asked on the site, what are some of the best places that you've used to find readers? That is always a question that comes up. How do you find your readers, John?
The truth is, it's always been free. It's always been giveaways. I found my readers. There have been some tiny occasions where an author said, oh my God, I just read this book, it's so good, and then 14 people buy the book, and that's no way to really grow readership. So it's always been Pixel of Ink giving away free, and e-reader News Today. Most of my things through e-reader News Today have been not free though. They've been in 99-cent deals where I sell 100 books. It's always been giving it away free, and that's the sucky thing about Kindle Unlimited, is that it's extremely hard to give away free. So I've given away 2,600, 2,700 books over in the UK because it's a BookBub, but for the last 2 days I've given away a total of about 8 books on the Amazon.com site. That is absolutely pathetic for giving away. Back in January, I was giving away 30 to 50 to 100 books a day, just through free. And now it's today I'll give away 5 books on Amazon.com, because they just hide everything.
Yeah, and it's over-glutton, overexposure too for the free, and then like I said, they hide it. But there's also so many free books out there now. Would you say that's part of the problem too?
It's just, well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of. I think it's the hiding. I think it's the hiding, and it's the Kindle Unlimited. There's a lot of free books, and you got the hoarders out there. But the funny thing is, the hoarders come back. So I stopped being free in January, right? I said I'm not gonna be free anymore. Raise all my prices, right? And then it was all the way into July, and I was still selling book 2, still selling book 2, still selling book 2. I would sell 2, 3 a day. Where the hell are they coming from? They're not buying book 1. They were. So they were reading the stuff that was on their Kindles. And incidentally, that's a really good point for putting your book description in the front of your books, which I still have to do. So I'm telling you to do it, and I still haven't done it yet. So because they're going to look in their book, they're going to see the cool cover, and then they're going to open it, and they're not going to see a book description. And I think Amazon is now showing the book description when you open up new books, but I wouldn't depend on that because they change their minds on everything so often,
So I didn't even think about that. So you put the description page 1 or the inside cover basically, so that they see it every time. That's good. Yeah, but you think about it because you forget you downloaded it, right, and go back months later and oh yeah, what about this book? I don't remember, and then yeah, it's a good point.
Because all these bookbubbers and free booksiers and stuff like that, they're hoarding it. They're like, oh my God, it's free. I can't read it now, but I'm going to get it. And so you want them to be able to know what the hell they downloaded. It's it just makes sense. I still haven't done it yet, so I don't know how I'm going to put it in there because I kind of like the way the front of my book looks. Just cornhole it in there.
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah. And it is, even you only say you got 4 books, but still it's a pain in the butt, right, to go back and change all those too.
Yeah. I use Vellum, by the way. Does anybody here use Vellum?
Yeah. No, I've never used Vellum, but I've heard good things.
Yeah, it's super easy. I used to format my stuff using the Guido Henkel kind of HTML method. I have my CSS and I have my HTML,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked really well. But I love the way I like the little fleurons. That's what they're called. The little those little graphics that do the section breaks.
Yep,
The little graphic. And I like the way the cool chapter headers work and the opening the book and everything. So I'm a hardcore Vellum fan at this point. And the other thing is, if you're going to do a box set, their beta version of their application. I don't know when it'll come out of beta by the whenever, but they actually can break the books up according to volumes. So the binge edition is basically built off of the beta version of Vellum, and I don't get any money from these guys. They don't know who I am. So.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Is it pretty user friendly? Would you say?
Redonkulously user friendly. You basically take a Word document and you import it and you split it off of like a symbol, like the word chapter, for example. You might have the word chapter in your prose somewhere, so do something better than that. But it was really simple to do, and it just looks so pretty. I think you can try it out just to see what it looks like. You can download it and run it. It's also for Mac only, so that sucks. But you can try it.
Only sucks if you don't have a Mac.
Yeah.
Suckers.
See what the book looks like. It's $30 for one book. What they don't do though is I think it's like $200 for the unlimited edition. But if you've already bought one book, like made some movie files and stuff off of one book, you don't pay $170. You pay $200 for the unlimited. So that's just a warning for you.
Cool. So, what do you do when you format your books?
I write them in Scrivener, and then I export to a Word document, and then I import them into Vellum.
Okay, so you do use Scrivener, but then you see most people go the other way. If they write a word, they go back into Scrivener, not versus out. Okay, so that's interesting.
Yeah, Scrivener's too complicated for me. There's a gazillion little things about formatting in there. I formatted stuff into like a Mobi, and it's like, it's just all. I'm not into that. So I like the thing I use Scrivener for is I like how the chapters are all sort of broken out, and you have all these places where you can put notes. Yeah. But I don't like Scrivener's spell checker. If you write like a contraction like the word don't, and then you put like a contraction like the word don't, and then just gibberish after the end, it won't flag it as a typo. Yeah. And I don't know why. It's got like a lot of little words that it seems to miss. So like, it's just my thing about Scrivener. I would take the document. I would take Scrivener. I would export it into like a Word doc, and I'd run my spell check there before you think you're done. So. Yeah.
I hadn't heard that one before either. A couple tidbits from Mr. Monk here. Learning.
Well, happy to help. That's the other thing. So like, I'm not a big Russell Blake kind of guy or Joanna Penn. I don't sell tons of books except for occasionally through like I get lucky, But I have a few little things to talk about once in a while, like the little trick for Scrivener or whatever. So all you self-pubbers out there, come on the show. Go on an A show. I listen to like a ton of them. I got a podcast tab over on my blog, john-l-monk.com. It's like podcasts. There's a ton of podcasts there. Podcasters are just dying to have people on. They're like, who the hell are we going to get this week? So approach them. Listen to the Author Biz episode first. See what they think makes a good. Like they say, don't bring a drink on because the ice you can hear it. Little tricks like that. Listen to what he has to say, and then approach somebody. Go approach Simon Whistler and say, hey Simon, I don't sell a lot of books, but I did this one cool thing. I have some ideas, and maybe he'll take you on.
Nice, excellent. Questions. I'm trying to check the site. Do we have any questions on the site X that I missed?
Liam had asked himself, "Hey Liam, are you?" Liam had asked himself, "Hey Liam, are you packing your stuff up right now to move to a place not in the middle of nowhere so you can have a better internet connection?" Yes, Liam. Oh yes. Why? Yes, I am. That's why I keep dropping off.
Poor Liam.
Yeah, he'd messaged saying, "Screw it, I'm throwing in the towel this week. Tell John I'm sorry. Next week I may be coming live from my office at work. A 100 megabyte fiber connection may be an improvement."
Sorry, Liam.
Yeah. I guess next week he'll be bringing the heavy juice.
Actually, I made Facebook friends with him today. I was like, hey, he's going to be on the show. I better be his Facebook friend. And now he's not on. It's like a total wasted Facebook friending.
Yep.
You know?
Unfriended.
Fail.
All right.
I'm not seeing any questions from the audience, so I'm kind of
Well, we had a few from Jane. I actually have one now. John, you know how you say that going wide is best. Is there such a thing as going too wide though?
Well, I don't think that going wide is best. I'm doing it because I think that it's a career move. Amazon likes to pull the rug out from under people. Look what they did with free. You know, I don't think that they're like evil. I think that they're just into it for themselves. You know, they want to sell Kindles, so of course they want that market. They want to kill, you know, like the iBooks. They want to kill anything that doesn't let them sell Kindles. You know, but you know, I'd hate for like I only sell books to Walmart. You know, that doesn't seem to me like a viable career option. I want to be able to survive off of multiple streams. So I don't think it's like the best. What was the second part of your question? Sorry.
How is there such a thing as going too wide? You know, like joining every little distribution option that you can find.
Ultimately, you got to ask yourself: is my time better spent writing? Right? And if you're joining the little apps out there that are dedicated just to your author platform, and you're going to like a million little places. You know, that aren't covered by Smashwords and or Draft to Digital, then perhaps your time is being wasted because you're probably not going to sell in those places unless you've got tricks up your sleeve. So yeah, I think there is. I think there's always an opportunity to do too much of one thing where it screws up your writing. For example, having a career.
Yeah, that screws up the writing big time. I'll second that.
I went
Quit
to
your job, people. It just makes it a lot easier. No, kidding.
I went to J.A. Conrath. This is at his little. He's got this thing he does with libraries. You know,
Yeah.
You can put it up there. Ebooks are forever. That's what it is. I put my books up there. I got accepted, or whatever, which was a real honor, by the way. I was so honored. And I put it up there, and I've sold literally 2 books to libraries. Yeah. Now, I don't know whether they're reading it. So, like, if I knew that they were reading it, if I could see those numbers, it might be worth it to me. But if I sold them there to this library and nobody's reading it, then I wasted a lot of time bothering with libraries. So, I don't have the data, you know. But I think it was cool. I think that was really more of an ego stroke. Hey, I got accepted. Oh my God, I'm being read in libraries. And sometimes, you know, life is too short. If you need an ego stroke to enjoy your life a little bit, get it stroked.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you do paperback as well?
I do paperback on book 1.
Paper books.
I do paperback on book 1. I'm of 2 minds of it. I think like the future is not going to be with paperbacks, and I don't read them anymore. However, a lot of people do, and it does look like you're bona fide if you have a paperback. So I have a paperback. Still got a lot of tiny little typos that have since been corrected. Like I say that the Earth is 400,000 miles in circumference because I added an extra digit. It's so stupid. Yeah, so I got to get that fixed, and I just haven't gotten around to it. I also want to change all my covers, and I'm also considering a title change for Kick, even though I love the cover, or rather the title. So there's these things that are making me sort of hold off on fixing the tiny little typos. There's like maybe 10 of them. You know, things that I don't like.
Well, that's all goes into branding. You know, there's so many ways to look at it and things to finesse over. As far if you are trying to, you know, when you have three books in a series, you want to have a clear, concise message, look, and everything has to be dialed into the same type of thing. So that way, it's a seamless ability for people to jump from one series to one book to the other. It has to be that, you know, it looks exactly like the next book in the series because kind of the cover for the first book and the second book kind of look the same.
That's right. And by the way, I would fix the typos in book 1, but nobody buys the paperback. It goes months without seeing a single buyer. So it's just there to say, this guy's bona fide. He's got a paperback, right?
And it's cheaper to get his ebook.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get I'm finishing up the final touches of an audiobook for Kick by an actor in Hollywood named Steve Phelan. He's been on television. You can actually see him on TV. It's so cool. And he was in like a music video with that But I Got High guy. What's his name again?
Afro Man.
Yeah, he was in a music video with him. But he's done like a murder book on Investigate Discovery or something like that. He's a really cool guy. He's actually came to me as a fan. He read my book, 4-starred it, of all things. It's so funny. And then like he said, hey, I'd love to do your audiobook one day because and he sent me like a chapter 1 kind of thing. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And we became friends. And then like a year goes by and I decided to do an audiobook and I hit him up. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Then another revenue stream, right? I mean, I think it makes good business sense. We've talked about this quite a bit too, but it makes good business sense. You have money coming in from different areas because the more money you have coming in, the better it is. And
also points of discovery.
Yeah.
It's another way for people to learn who the hell I am. Another place where the thing shows up, and that goes back to the discoverability book by Christine Catherine Rush. Grains of salt abounds. I love what she has to write and stuff like that, but it doesn't always apply to me or you, for that matter.
Yeah, good point. All right. Well, the hour is up. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Let's see. People just commenting on, but not this. I don't think any more direct questions. Did you guys have anything else, Erica or Xavier? Or
Can't think of anything personally. What do you got?
Oh, I was just wondering if Kobo is still worth it. It just doesn't seem like we've heard much from Kobo lately.
Kobo. Well, I actually approached them. That's the other thing. The reason why I think I got I'm going to talk about Kobo by way of Drafted Digital and Barnes & Noble. So the reason why I think that I got the Friday thing free is because I went to the help section of Drafted Digital and I contacted them and I said, oh my God, I'm a self-published author. I'm serious. I got these covers. I got great editing. I got these reviews on Amazon. Could you contact Barnes & Noble about like some sort of feature over there? And a guy wrote me back and he's like, yeah, maybe in the future. I don't know. I promise nothing. And I wrote him again and said, hey, I've got this cool binge edition. He's like, well, I'll see what I can do. So he wrote me back months later saying, they just contacted me. So I think what happened is he contacted them. They said scram, but then they noticed me, and then they contacted him, and then they wrote me, and then he wrote me back. There was a whole thing going on with after the book bug. Now I've done the same thing over at Kobo. I know a couple people over there. They had me at one point in the first free in series thing over on Kobo. It really didn't sell very well. I gave away over like 3 weeks. I gave away maybe 100 books. It was kind of depressing and sort of dispiriting. I don't necessarily blame them. Maybe if I'd written in a more identifiable genre, if my book didn't look like a karate book, it says kick and it's got this guy who looks like his shirt's off. It's ridiculous. It's not a karate book.
I did not
put that in your branding as a subtitle. This is not a karate book.
I did not get that at all, but now that's all I'm going to see.
So anyway, Kobo, I've also written them recently and said, hey, I got this binge edition. It was like, you should put your thing into like our little, like if you're going to have a promo, apply for the promo. And so they were like talking to me and stuff. That's the thing, just write these people and talk to them and say, hey, can you do something for me? You can't do it with Amazon; they suck.
Oh yeah, they're too big to be approachable, but the other ones.
Got to write to Jeff.
But they're merchandisers.
Yeah.
Amazon does have merchandisers. If you look through their books, you can sort by featured. Now, featured is coming up first, so. Featured just means that they have a merchandiser who's pushing a book. and you got to go to that drop down and switch it to average number of reviews, highest lowest price, things like that. It starts off as featured now in the various categories. So they have merchandisers working, and I know that lady I was telling you about, who I can't really talk about, but she said that, like, she's not even allowed to really suggest people to her merchandiser. They're that, like, sort of like, you shall not do this. They're almost like mythical beings. You can't. Yeah, I would love to have an Amazon merchandiser. Let's just put it that way. They'll sell your books.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're listening to this show, so you'll get one soon, John.
I hope so. But I didn't badmouth them too much.
Well, John, thanks so much again for coming on the show. I'm glad I got to be here this time. You're an interesting guy to listen to, and
it's awesome.
Really good insight. So maybe we'll even have you on again when 6 months from down the road when you change your mind again about something, and we'll talk about something else.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just remind everybody, please leave us some reviews. I think iTunes is up to date. I think things are moving along. You can find us on Stitcher, and of course, in other places. Of course, you might want to watch YouTube because Xavier's so handsome. See, I'm trying to make up for earlier.
Dream on. Wait.
You have no chance.
Yeah, no chance. But anyway, thank you to all the live viewers and your comments, questions. Really appreciate it. I will put a link for an after party if John wants to stick around for a few minutes, and if you guys want to actually talk to him live, we can do that. So, John, do you got a minute? I'm gonna put you on the spot, but.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So, all right, and Liam should be back next week because he's going to go to work to actually broadcast. I also want to give a shout out to you, Erica. Thank you for coming on and stepping up. Going to see Erica here for a while. It's a pleasure having you on too. So, all right, next week, right? I think we actually even have another guest lined up. So yeah, I think Garrett Robinson's coming on next week. So we'll have another show next week. So.
Indeed.
Indeed. Xavier, you get last words to say?
Adios, internets.